Hi, everybody. I'm Brad Silbert. Welcome to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show here. Week number 5 of high school football. Joining us first tonight is Fisher's Tigers head coach Rick Wimmer. Rick, the Tigers took a pretty tough loss and a little bit of a manhandling there at Brownsburg.
Well, Brownsburg's a very good football team, and we just didn't do enough to win. Did not play the type of game defensively that we've been playing for 4 weeks. We've been playing pretty well defensively, although in our last win with HSE threw the ball for a lot of yards, but we were able to keep them out of the end zone with the exception of one touchdown. But the Brownsburg, for the first time really this year, we gave up over 100 yards rushing, and in fact they had close to 300 yards rushing on us, and so that was disappointing. Disappointed in our defense there. Offensively, we didn't. We played okay, but just didn't do enough. Scored one touchdown in the first half, and kicked a field goal in the second half that really probably should have been a touchdown. We had to settle for a field goal on miscommunication on the play before that we needed to get a first down on, and so we had to settle for a field goal. And we scored a touchdown late, but to make it 17 points. But kind of a frustrating night for us, especially defensively. That we just have to play better, and we're capable of playing better. I think we will play better in the future. I hope so. But we just did not get off the bus ready to go, and that's my job. Make sure we are. But we've got certainly found some things we got to work on and get better.
Well, you did mention the fact that defensively it was not much of a performance, and giving up almost 300 yards to a very good Brownsburg team. I mean, you can't take anything away from them.
No,
that's a good ball
good.
team.
They're a very good team, well balanced team, good team in all 3 phases of the game. The scary thing is we've got Avon this week, and Avon held them to 3 points. So, and Brownsburg only scored 7. So, we've got another tough matchup this week. We'll just have to play better, and we'll have to play harder. We just did not play with the emotion and the intensity that we've played in the other games on defense. And so that I think although we had a good practice today, I think our players understand the problems that we had, and I think our attitude's good. But we've got work to do for sure.
Individual shout-outs for some of the players. Scally appeared to have a pretty good game rushing.
We did run the ball pretty well. 176 yards, I think, total rushing the football. Dylan had, he was over 100 yards, 114 yards, I think, on the night. Jeffrey Simmons, receiver for us, had 6 catches on the night for not big yards, but he did have one big play on a downfield pass, and then he also caught a touchdown pass on a fade route and went up and got it. So, I thought our offensive line played pretty well. Offensively, we did some decent things, but we also had about 3 and outs, and when you're playing a team the caliber of Brownsburg, their offense, you can't have 3 and outs and put your defense back on the field. We've been in previous games, in most of our games, we've been significantly more plays than our opponent. I think HSE were about even, but the other games we've been significantly more plays than our opponent. We've controlled the football, but in this game we were again about even with. There was one. I think we had 58 plays and they had 59, and they're just that's too many plays for them for us to, to win the game. We needed to be on the field more offensively, and not put our defense on the field. And our defense needed to get off the field, and they really couldn't. We got no turnovers on the night, and we just had a hard time getting off the field.
I saw that Marcus Rue was 12 for 23 for 120 yards passing.
Yeah, he started slow. But I thought in the second half came on and finished the game pretty solid. I thought he he did some decent things running the football. We're using him as a runner a little bit more, and he's doing a good job running our offense, making good decisions. We weren't as accurate as we needed to be, but I'm pleased with where he's headed and what he's done for us so far. He's doing a good job running the team, and he's just going to continue to get better.
Well, we've talked about this. You and I have talked about this on the air and off the air, just about the conference altogether. And it just seems like every week teams are just, for lack of a term, beating up on each other, and it's a tough conference.
It's a very tough conference. There's not anybody you play in any week that you just say, well, we can chalk this one up. We're going to win this one, and the same token, I don't feel like you're out of any game either. Although we didn't look at the part last Friday. So it's a very good conference. We're gonna, it doesn't get any easier for us. We're playing the statistically and standings wise is the best team in our conference right now. They're undefeated, the only undefeated team in our conference. So somebody's got to knock them off to get back in the conference race, and we got an opportunity to play them this week. So. But honestly, our focus was really more about us this week, just playing with more emotion on defense, continuing to reduce our mistakes and getting to the football, tackling better. We just have to play better, play more physical. We weren't very physical, particularly defensively. So we just have to play better all around than we did, and we're capable of it. We've done it. In other games, so we know we're capable of playing better, and I think we'll come out ready to go.
I think one of the things that's always been positive, at least this season and the seasons I've been following you guys, is you've always had a good kicking game, and that's really important, isn't it?
Oh, very, very much so. We emphasize it a lot. Keith Shelton's our special teams coordinator, does a good job with those guys. Jack Phillips handles both our punting and kicking duties, and he was very good Friday night. Did a good job punting the ball. Did a great job kicking off. I think most of his kickoffs were touchbacks. I think maybe all of them were. We had a good return game. Dom Oliverio, a sophomore, that got his first action coming back from an injury, and he had one outstanding return. In the kicking game, we've been very solid there all year, and we've got a pretty good kicking game. That's a very important part of the game, and we put a lot of emphasis on it.
Avon comes to town this week. We've talked a little bit about them already. You alluded to the fact that they're undefeated. They're on the top of the conference. I know I've watched a couple of their games this season, and that is a team that has really impressed me. I think that is they're not on top of the conference for no reason.
Yeah, they're an impressive team physically with their size and their speed. They're very athletic. Did I say they were big?
Yeah, they are. They are.
They're big. So they give you a lot of things to prepare for, especially with their defense. There's a lot of different fronts, and sometimes and they give you a lot of movement on defense, a lot of blitzes and stunts, and so it's a lot to prepare for from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, what they do pretty well. They don't, they don't run maybe as many plays as some other people do, but the other end of that is they execute pretty well, and that's they seem to have answers for whatever you try to do. So they're a well-coached football team. Mark Bless, he and I have coached against each other back in my Greenwood days, and he was at Mooresville. So we've faced each other many times. I played football at University of Indianapolis for his dad. Of course, he did too. So we've known each other for a long time. But they're a well-coached team, and we have a lot of respect for them. We've got our work cut out for us.
Well, I hope all the luck in the world to you coming up Friday night at the at Reynolds Tiger Stadium, and hopefully you'll have your usual good crowd out there to support you.
I'm sure we
Coach
will.
Rick Wimmer, Fishers Tigers head
Thank you.
coach, we appreciate you being here with us. We'll be back on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show after this.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville. If you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore. It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners. And joining us now is probably one of the happier guys in Hamilton County after Friday night, Tom Dilly, head coach of the Guerin Catholic Golden Eagles. And we were just talking just before we came on the air, Tom. It was a long trip down to Columbus, but it was well worth it for you guys.
Sure. Yeah, our kids played a good game. It was a good atmosphere. Had a lot of respect for Coach Bless and their program, and quality program, well-coached team, and kids made some nice plays, and it was a good trip. But time to move on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the game itself. First half, no scoring.
Yeah, and you know, our defense has been really good all year. We had a mishap on the opening kickoff and fumbled the ball to Columbus North. I think they got it on the 9 going in, and our defense was able to go out there and they came away with nothing. So that kind of set the tone for a little bit of a defensive struggle in the first half, I guess. Neither team got a whole lot going. We did have one important drive where we had been pinned down by a punt, maybe on the 6 or 4 yard line, and we were at least able to get it out past midfield. We didn't score, but that was an important drive for our offense to get out of bad field position. But other than that, nobody could get in the end zone the first half.
Well, you guys had 214 overall yards, according to, I'm sorry, that's 264, I misread that. You held Columbus North to 186 net yards, both on the ground and in the air. That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, like I said, our defense has done a great job all year. They did a nice job in this game. They bent a little bit on a couple of drives, but ultimately made some plays, and they're just a bunch of battlers. They're a little bit undersized and not quite big enough, not quite fast enough, but collectively they, with our defensive coaches and our Coach Shackelford, our defensive coordinator, they have a good plan, and they just play hard and play together.
You guys go into the locker room at the half, 0-0. What was your what was the conversation with the kids like in the locker room?
We just we meet with each side of the ball, meets as a staff, and then we go in and try to figure out what we're going to focus on in the second half. And I wasn't really a big part of the defensive meeting, and offensively we tried to identify some things we thought had in the first half had some success or some promise, and we're going to focus on those and maybe some things we hadn't gone to yet that we thought we could have some success with. And, it was not only at halftime, but during the second half, the kids gave us a lot of good feedback about what they felt was could work and what they felt best about. And, all that together, you make some adjustments, and then the kids go out and just make plays.
Well, it looks like, if the stats really don't lie, you guys had 37 rushes for 104 yards, and Columbus North 44 carries for 133 yards, and very not a whole lot of passing in this game either.
Well, we were able to hit a couple big ones and a couple touchdowns late and get some yardage there, but it was a long drive, but it was a relatively short game. Both teams ran the ball quite a bit and kept the clock moving. Both teams are kind of built that way, that you run the ball a little bit and hope that sets up some passing opportunities.
Gus Baumgartner with another good game, 27 carries for 98 yards.
He's been great, been a real workhorse, and 37 of those yards came on one carry, I think. So really, when you look at it, it's 26 carries for about 60-some yards, and those were hard-earned yards. He's a tough kid, and he's hammering it up in there, getting at least getting us some positive gains on without a whole lot of room sometimes. And even though we weren't gaining a lot of yards, obviously when you're running it that frequently and teams have to commit to stopping it, it still does open up some opportunities down the field.
Another good game for Christian Geloff, too.
Yeah, Christian ran the ball well, ran the team well, and made a couple huge throws. More than a couple, threw the ball well, but especially our 2 touchdown passes late in the game, he made some nice reads and throws.
Your leaders on the defensive side?
Our linebacking group has been great all year. Our inside backers, Tom Hokinson and Jagger Albert. Again, I think I've mentioned before here, even undersized guys that just fly around and are physical and know what they're doing, and good leaders. And our outside backers, Nick Demas had a great game. Nick's one of the best kept secrets in the county. I think he's a really, really good player, having a great year and doing a great job as a leader. I don't even remember. He had multiple sacks, multiple tackles for loss, and our other outside linebacker, Ethan Sutton, was right around Nick as far as a number of statistical accomplishments. And then Nick Simzak, our middle guard, our nose guard, has been kind of the anchor of the defensive line all year. He's doing a nice job fighting multiple blockers.
Another conference game coming up this week against Indianapolis Chittard, another Circle City conference game, and we have talked on this program with all the coaches about the conferences that they're in, and between Circle City and Hoosier Crossroad, a couple of the top conferences in the state. Great competition in those conferences.
Absolutely. Our conference isn't very big by numbers, but they're all good, traditional football programs and schools. Chittard being right at the top of that list as far as accolades, accomplishments, and achievements. And they have a great tradition and legacy, and we have a lot of carryover into our school about some people who have been connected there in the past, and we know a lot of the same folks, have a lot of respect for Coach Doyle and his program and that tradition, and it's similar at Brebeuf and Roncalli, and so you kind of know what you're going to get. It's a really tough grind, and you talked about being happy at the beginning of the show. And we were pleased with the victory, but then you turn the page pretty quickly and realize what you have coming up. It's going to
back to work for
it's going to be a big
next
challenge,
Friday.
And our kids are excited about it, and we'll prepare as best we can this week and put our best performance out there and see if it's good enough.
Well, you guys are in that conference. You're kind of like the new kids on the block, almost, with obviously the newest school among all of them, and sometimes that history going up against, especially like a Chittard or a Roncalli and Lafayette Central Catholic. Those are traditionally very, very good programs.
Yeah, and Brebeuf Jesuits, a really good program as well. So, we're only playing this year's version, but at the same time, we have great respect for and understand the impact of the tradition of the program. And we're only playing 11 of them at a time in this year's program too. But so our kids just need to be focused, be aware that they're playing a great program, but at the same time, just go out and play our game.
Chittard comes in for a 7:30 kickoff Friday night. How are we preparing for that? What do you expect for Chittard to throw at you?
You know, they have kind of transformed themselves offensively a little bit from a few years ago, but they're still going to be a downhill, run the ball first kind of team, and they'll certainly take any passing opportunities you give them. They can make big plays in the passing game, but they're good enough also to just pick you apart and move down the field that way too. So it's they're a good balanced football team. They have a great effort-oriented, pursuit-oriented defense. They fly to the ball, and there's some good scheme there too to keep you a little bit confused. So, you know, it's a big challenge on both sides. Their special teams are solid all the way through. You know, we've been watching a lot of film, obviously, but there aren't any glaring weaknesses. So, you know, we're going to do what we do and try to do it better than we've ever done it, and get as good as we can by Friday, and we'll see what happens.
Well, we'll just have to see. We'll be watching Friday night. Tom Dilley, head coach of the Guerin Catholic Golden Eagles, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for
We'll
having
be
me.
back with more of the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show after this.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville, if you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore. It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that, it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show, brought to you by Logan Street Signs and Banners. We're joined now by Bud Wright, the head man over at Sheridan. And Coach Wright, not quite as exciting of a finish this week as he had a week ago.
Well, it was pretty close, though. I mean, we'd scored, they'd scored, and it was back and forth there for a while. And again, we pulled it out at the end, but we got a lot of kids that are really playing hard and really push themselves, but they're still making a lot of mistakes.
Well, let's just talk about the game Friday night. End of the first quarter, it's 14-13. You're leading by 1. You do manage to get 6 more points before halftime, so you're going into halftime with a 7-point lead.
Right, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back out the second half, and the very first play, we had to kick off to them, and the very first play from scrimmage, their quarterback went for a touchdown. They went for 2 to try to take the lead, and did not make it, and so we're still up 20-19. And then they go down and score again, and they went up, and then we come back and scored a couple, went up again, and a little bit back and forth there. Then we scored, got up 2 touchdowns. Thought we was in pretty good shape with about 2:47 to go. We kicked off, and the very first play from scrimmage, quarterback goes about 70 yards for a touchdown again. So put them back to 9 points of us, but we ran the clock out then.
Well, good victory for you guys. A 9-point victory over a pretty tough team in Clinton Prairie. Also a conference game for you.
Right, it was. They had a nice ball club. They had a lot of size. Like we talked about last week, they had a kid on defensive tackle, 395, 6'6". Another defensive tackle was 6'1", 295. And their defensive ends were like 230 and 240. So they gave us fits. We did a pretty good job of blocking them, except our freshman tackle, he struggled a little bit blocking the big senior kid over him.
Let's talk a little bit more about the defense. Obviously a lot to talk about offensively here, but a couple shout-outs for a couple of your key players and key plays for the defense this week.
Well, our main defensive player again has got to be our defense, our guard is that's there. He's pretty good. He's really big time. I think should go someplace.
Offensively, just a fantastic game for Cameron Hovey.
Right. Again, Chris Starks, he's the one that had the 7 defensive solos and such there, and he's the one that does a lot of the blocking for us. He's a good-sized kid. He's about 6'2", 6'2 and a half, and weighs about 260. And like I say, he's a player. And Cameron does a lot of runs right behind him. And we got a sophomore tackle, and Charlie Cronin's our senior center, and they provide awful good blocking for him.
Well, you mentioned something to me as we were walking into the studio about Hovey that I think is well worth you mentioning.
Okay, Hovey is right now, according to Max Preps, he is number 3 in the nation in rushing. He's got 1,210 yards, I believe, and he's doing a heck of a job for us. He runs hard, and he carries the ball a lot. But
as I was looking at the stats, I was looking at his stats, and I thought 53 carries. I thought, boy, coach is trying to wear him down, but 53 carries and 344 yards in the game Friday night. And, I know you credit a lot of that to the offensive line, too. Right.
The big thing is we have 2 running backs that are injured. And, with those 2 running backs out, he has to step in there and carry a lot of the load. And he's done a heck of a job. He keeps going, and hopefully we'll get at least one of those guys back healthy this week and take some of the pressure off of him.
Well, he accounted for 344 of the 534 total yards that the team had. Of that total yardage, 114 was on passing, and quarterback efficiency 5 for 6. You didn't have to pass a whole lot in that game.
Well, Hovey completed 1 pass in that drive on a 4th down situation. So he had a pass for a 27-yard pass on a 4th and 12 situation, and that was really was a key pass in the ball game too. And then our quarterback, he did a heck of a job. He was 4 out of 5 throwing the ball. He tore a tendon in his finger and missed a few plays, came back, and then he struggled a little bit throwing, but he got it out there for a couple of completions that were key in the ball game.
3 games coming up on the road now in the next 3 weeks, including Taylor, Seeger, and Eastern. All good programs you're going up against.
Right. Taylor's down a little bit. They're 1-4 on the year. But they are playing better all the time. Plus, they got some speed. Speed kills.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got a team that's got speed, you got to look out for them. And they're a dangerous kid or a dangerous school right now because, like I say, they got 3 kids that can really run. Of the 3, I think Eastern is the one that you got to look out for because they got some really great athletes, and we were fortunate enough to beat them last year in a close ball game.
I was going to mention that Eastern is at Eastern in Greentown. That's coming up on October 11th, and they are 3-0 in the conference, 5-0 overall,
Right.
and they look like that particular game probably will decide the conference champion.
Hopefully that's true. Like I say, we should go into that game. Knock on wood. We should go in that game conference-wise undefeated, and they should go in undefeated. So that's the way it was last year. Like I say, we were lucky enough to come out on top. Hopefully we'll get the job done again this year.
Well, Coach, congratulations on what has so far been a great season for the Blackhawks, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. Coach Bud Wright, head coach of the Sheridan Blackhawks. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. I'm Brad Silbert, brought to you by Noblesville Trophies and our friends at Logan Street Signs and Banners. We are joined right now by Hamilton Southeastern head coach Adam Morris. And Coach Morris, your game Friday night against Westfield was the tale of two parts of the game.
Sure.
The first 4 minutes and the last 44. Tell us about the game Friday.
Yeah, I felt like we were focused going into the game, and I don't really think it was a lack of focus by our kids. They complete a good ball. We miss a tackle. It makes a couple guys miss. An offense that good like Westfield, you give them the ball down in the red zone, they're going to make you pay for it, and they did. They score a couple plays later, have a great call. We're in man coverage. They do the speed option deal, get us outnumbered. And then I think when we throw an interception, our very first offensive play from scrimmage, and then they get the ball again on a short field. And I really think that stop, holding them to a field goal, not letting them score another touchdown, was probably the biggest series of the game. And then also how quarterback Andrew Hobson, how he responded from that point on after throwing an interception on the first play from scrimmage. Really proud of how he kind of just battled through and kept playing and went on to play a pretty good game really from that point forward. So I think our kids just responded. I think because it happened so early, we just had enough time to kind of keep chipping away and kept building confidence in the locker room at halftime. I got a good vibe from our kids. I think they were ready, excited to go back out, and I think we just gained confidence as the game went on. Was able to run the football, keep our defense off the field, and I really thought that was the biggest piece of the game.
Well, at 10-0, less than 4 minutes into the game, I think a lot of people were getting a little bit nervous.
Sure.
Obviously, I imagine a lot of the players and the coaches were.
Yeah, Coach
thinking,
Morris for sure.
You know what's going on here, but then you hold them scoreless through the rest of the quarter, and the defense just kind of clicked after that.
Yeah, I think this was the game that we got the most out of our special teams, specifically the punt game, and I just felt like the combination of us being able to run the football and get some first downs and keep the defense off the field, and then our punt team and scoring and our kickoff team put our defense with a long field to defend. And I think doing that, the combination of having been off the field and then trying to force them to drive the whole field, I think set us up for success. And I think we've played pretty well defensively for the most part this year. Got worn down in the second half last week, but I think it was because we were on the field too much. So offense, special teams set the defense up for success.
So you go into the locker room at halftime down 10-7. What are you telling the kids?
That the scoreboard could have looked different. We missed a field goal. Just the turnovers. I said, guys, it's 10-7 right now, and we're not playing very well, and they're a really good team. And I got a good vibe from our kids in the locker room. Did not necessarily think the second half was going to go the way that it was, but I definitely walked out of the locker room at halftime confident that our kids were ready to go compete.
Let's talk a little bit about Blaine Wirtz.
Sure.
I think some people sitting in the stands kind of dubbed him the best-kept secret in Hamilton Southeastern football so far this season.
Yeah. I think he was maybe a secret for everybody else but us. He was tremendous as a freshman. Had a great summer, did a really good job. Was our starter going into the year. Last play of the first half against Lawrence Central, gets rolled up on, gets a high ankle sprain, and had just been out the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
almost brought him back last week against Fishers. Didn't feel like he was quite ready. Had a better week of practice this week. Looked good on Thursday, and we decided to roll with him. And he's special. He's not very big. He's not going to, impress you with how he looks in pads, but his gift is his vision. He's got great balance, sets up his blocks. He's a special football player.
He had, according to my stats, he had 13 carries, 225 yards in the game, and most of that came in the second half.
Yeah, I thought his first run in the second half really set the tone for the second half. We run a counter play, gets blocked well, has a real physical run. I think that's the thing that's so deceptive. He makes people miss, he does all certain things, but a lot of those carries were pretty physical. And Westfield is a physical defense. They're big up front, have really good linebackers. So I think that's the thing that was the most impressive, were how physical some of those runs were.
Let's go back to the defensive side just for a couple of minutes here. In Westfield, specifically in Cam Simmons, probably one of the top quarterbacks, at least in central Indiana or in the state. How did you guys prepare for him?
Yeah, he's hard to prepare for. Last year in our game, I believe he was 13 to 16 or 4. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, he almost didn't have an incompletion against us. I think it's just being smart and being disciplined in coverage. I think the thing that's so impressive about him when you watch him is he clearly goes through his progression, looks at his first option, second option, third option. And I felt like we just did a good job staying disciplined in coverage. I also think they like to run it with him, and we certainly made it a point of, hey, if they're going to run the football with them, we got to be physical with them. And I think that for any kid, I think that's hard to do. If you're going to carry the ball 15 or more times and then also throw it 20, 25 times, I think it can take a toll on you as the game wore on. And I felt like that kind of happened. But there's no doubt he's a really good player. They're in our sectional. There's a chance we could see him again, and we'll have to prepare for him again. He's special.
Talk about the passing game a little bit. Andrew Hobson had a good night.
Yeah. Very proud of how he responded. To throw an interception the first play at homecoming, the way that with the fans that we had and everything that was going on, and just kind of moved on for him. Threw some really good balls. I felt like against Fishers, we probably put a little too much on his plate pre-snap and asked him to do too much. We kind of got rid of some of that stuff. And I thought that's why you saw the production, again, pick back up this week. He's had a really good year, and we're really happy for him. He's a kid who's waited his turn, gets his turn as a senior to lead our program, and that's exactly what he's doing.
DeAndre Rhodes, 5 catches, 88 yards on the game.
Yeah, he's been as good as any receiver in Central Indiana, in my opinion. And he's long. He can go up and make good catches. I thought he did a really good job blocking and doing some other things. That was actually the thing I was the most proud of in that game. But he, again, another senior who's waited his turn. He's got his turn. He's got a lot of confidence in his quarterback, and he's played well.
Overall, 413 net yards on the ground and in the air versus 299 for Westfield. I think anytime you can best an opponent by Westfield of over 100 yards, that's a good game.
Yeah. I told our kids after the game, I really felt like it was the most complete game our team put together. We ran the football the best that we have. Obviously, Hobson throwing it, defensively playing well, getting stops, getting 3 and outs, and then the best game overall from our special teams. No blocked kicks. Punt team did a good job. I really thought the story of the game was after our scores, pinning them deep on kickoff, keeping the momentum in our favor. I really thought that's what turned the tide in the second half.
Friday night, it's a road trip to Zionsville. Let's talk a little bit about the Eagles. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with us because our program has really struggled on the road the last 2 years. And then as far as looking at Zionsville, their quarterback is really experienced. He played as a sophomore, played as a junior. They have the best running back in the area right now. They're big up front. They've always been big up front. They're physical again this year. Defensively, they're really aggressive. They stem, move around, blitz, really aggressive with their coverage. They're a really good team, so we're going to have to play our best football to have a chance.
Wirtz going for another 200 this week?
That would be nice. I don't think anybody can predict that. Not with Coach McWhorter, the defensive line. That's probably the group I've been really impressed with them, the defensive line.
Well, Coach, you're about halfway through the season now at 2-3. Had a couple heartbreaking games for you guys that you were so close and yet, just didn't quite get the W. But it appears as though the Royals are maybe over the hump there and on the road.
Yeah, we really stressed to our kids that the week prior plays no effect on the upcoming week, and that our preparation is going to dictate our performance, not the other way around. So last week was great. It was a big win for our program. Nice to get a win on homecoming and all the things we had going on, but doesn't mean anything this week. And if we don't prepare this week against a really good Zionsville team, we'll struggle. So we got to focus on ourselves, get the preparation in, and try to put another good week together.
That's Coach Adam Morris, Hamilton Southeastern Royals. Good luck tomorrow, or good luck Friday and the rest of the season, Coach. We'll be back with another interview after this.
Well, welcome to the Hamilton County Coaches Show. I'm Perry Williams, and I got along with me Coach Justin Roden. Welcome, Coach.
How are we doing, Perry?
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about last Friday night's game, and then we'll move on to
Sure.
this week against Franklin Central. Let's talk a little bit about the Zionsville game. I know it was homecoming. The atmosphere at the field with the parade, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I've tried today in the course of the day to thank students, in all the strength training classes in the hallway. I thanked some administrators this morning. There's one thing that I hold true, and Noblesville does homecoming better than any school I've ever been a part of. I mean, that's a community thing. The parade was, goodness gracious, there are a lot of cities that would love to have a parade like we had just for our homecoming in our town. And our parental support this week, they had decorated the locker room for the boys, which was awesome, and everything was done, really, really well. I was very appreciative of all the efforts to make this a special night for the boys, and they had a great night at the dance on Saturday. The only bummer or the disappointment of this whole thing was we didn't do our part on the field Friday, but from a community standpoint, and you mentioned it to me earlier, and you're not the first person. The crowd Friday night at that football game was a crowd that was there like we were 4-0, and they didn't give a darn what our record was. They were there to support us, and I think that's one of the great things about Noblesville is
Still got that small town feel.
Yeah,
it's a big city,
Well, yeah, and the kids on Friday, they were cheering. They didn't care what the score was. They wanted to support their friends. They wanted to support their buddies. I'll say this too. I've been a lot of places. Our band was playing to the very end. I mean, most schools I've been, the band checks out after halftime, and they're gone. Our band was rocking it out like like we were champions. So I'm very appreciative of them. I mean, that's all the positives of going on there. I really did. I felt a knot in my stomach after the game because everybody had done such a darn good job that I wish we had done a little bit better on the field on Friday. But it's a game played by kids and coaches, and the ball didn't bounce the way we wanted to. But I'm very blessed to be in a good spot in a great community that supports the kids regardless of what happens on the game on field on Friday.
Absolutely, and the wonderful thing too is that to add to this a little bit, downtown, like about Monday of last week, was all the windows were painted up.
Moms
and what's really the
job.
great thing is, and in years past we've caught some criticism of it, is they were all cleaned up yesterday afternoon. So all the windows were clean, looked sharp, and everything. And
we had again, this is part where I'm blessed because I just I don't have the time and ability to do some of these things. But our parents took care of not only setting it up to have them decorated, they took the time to make sure that things were taken down the appropriate time. All our trailers had hay bales for safety reasons, and so we had parents organizing the removal of the safety barrels, but of the hay bales to have them put back over in the 4-H grounds. And again, our parents are awesome. We do things the right way. We just need to find a way to get that W on Fridays.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Zionsville game. Ended up Zionsville 20, Noblesville nothing. But positive note that we actually got a pretty good start that first quarter. We were down 3-0. I mean, it
honestly, it's such a weird game. I thought we did a good job defending Colin, the Price kid, the tailback. Was one of the top ranked rushers in the state, and I think he's only a baby, he's only a sophomore, and he's pretty fantastic. I was pleased with what we were doing defensively. For us, we just can't find that switch on offense, people in the bleachers are a little frustrated, and I'm frustrated, and we spent a lot of time trying to find the right places for the boys and try to change the schemes here to give our kids the best chance to make a play. And we're going to do that again this week. It's just honestly, it's 10 kids doing the right thing and then one kid, making that mistake. And, for us, it's killing us. And the other part of that, too, in truth with you, is we've been on the bad end of some strange penalties and some bad penalties. Cam got, our best football player got called for a clip in the back run down the field on punt team, which I'm still confused on because he's too big to get away. Kid just kind of pushed him and he got penalized for it, and then he got a penalty later on for blocking a kid into the ground and pancaking him. So, we just can't seem to catch a break from a penalty standpoint. We're not turning the ball over. I mean, that's the other thing too. Usually when you have a team that's struggling, it's based on turnovers, but we're really not turning the ball over. We're just not able to generate enough offense to beat people. So the other positive of that, again, we came out after the half and we played good again in the second half. We just, here and there we can't finish off a big play, or we just can't seem to make things happen when we need to, if that makes any sense. The 99-yard drive at the end of the half honestly was a dagger to the soul. We were in the football game. It's only 10-0. You're going to go into the half there, and I thought maybe to go for a fourth down. I said no, we'll just kind of pin him down there. And
yeah, you kind of surprised me on that.
I thought
I know.
I had kind of been burned in the last couple of years and some bad decisions on that. So I thought let's play smart here. We'll be good in the second half, worst case, and go in 10-0. And we had a
great punt. I mean,
well,
we
had a great call by our coordinator, and we had some young pups out there, freshman nose guard, and some other young kids, and they went the wrong direction, and the hole was was like the Red Sea parting there a little bit. So for us, we kicked our own self in the tail there, and that touchdown at the end of the half really kind of let the air out of our sails.
But once again, and it's, if you believe in data and all that information, the first half has been the killer all season long, and the second half we've played pretty good football.
I think the last 3 weeks we've either won the second half or tied the second half. I mean, we've been right with everyone we played, which just shows you that we have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of execution. At this point, you can't blame it on inexperience. You can't blame it on being young. At this point, we're halfway through the season. It's time for some of these guys that have got an opportunity to play to start, standing up and, distinguish themselves as varsity football players. And we're still shuffling guys around. We got Jacob Ham back last week. He had a good game.
I thought he had a great game.
Mason Bowen was playing his second ever varsity football game. I thought he did a pretty good job. And we played the Page kid at the nose some on Friday, and I think he's going to stick around. And he did a pretty good job. And Alaric is a sophomore, and Josh Rogers is another sophomore, and Steinhofer's a sophomore, and so we've got a lot of young guys who are getting a chance to play. And I think the idea here is that we keep progressing and developing, getting those guys back. Then we're going to be pretty good the next season. So we're still going to try to compete. I'd love to have an opportunity to win the sectional. If we can find a way to win a game or two in there and find ourselves maybe playing for an opportunity to win it, at that point the goal has to shift here. But the big thing for us is to find a way to win this week. We've got to find a way to put some points on the board and move on from another game that I felt like we were as good as or capable of winning.
Well, we got that this week. I think we have a very good chance going against Franklin Central at Franklin Central, which will be traveling, which which is kind of unusual for Hoosier Crossroad Conference because we don't have to travel very far.
Yeah,
we can almost drive across town on most of our games. When you talk about Westfield and Fishers, I mean, it's not that far.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely a little strange. Franklin Central definitely a little strange as far as the location goes. But I will say this: it's not often when you're playing a 3-2 team and you say, "Hey, we've got a chance here in this game." It's because the conference and the schedule is so tough. But Franklin Central's got wins over Roncalli. They've got wins over Decatur Central. They got a win over Zionsville.
Yeah.
So they are a vastly improved team from last year. They play really physical. They got a great linebacker in the middle, and they will hit you in the mouth. And for us, if we go over there with anything other than a ton of respect for them, and we don't expect a dogfight, we're gonna get punched in the mouth, and we're gonna find ourselves in the wrong end of the scoreboard. So we got our work cut out this week. Got to watch a lot of film, and we got to match our physicality.
Well, I think if there's any lessons learned this week when you take a look at 6A football, when 5 out of your top 10 teams go down in defeat. Okay, I mean, Southeastern 1-3. Okay, I mean they play a very tough schedule.
Yeah.
And they go and they kick the crap out of
A good Westfield team.
A good Westfield team in the second half, which is very unusual because the game started out typical Westfield. They jump out on top 10-0.
Yep.
And Southeastern didn't quit, and then the game with Brownsburg and Fishers, I think everyone thought that was going to be a ball game, but Brownsburg put it on them.
Yeah, our conference and 6A, and Coach Metz made this comment last week that it's high school football, and again, a game played by kids and
16 to 18,
right? Yeah, it's anything can happen. I mean, you chuckle about it, but they can eat the wrong food.
Yeah.
Stomach ache. Betty Sue can break up with them, and they can have a broken heart. So I like to believe that the same idea for us, that anybody can win on Friday. I think just in our particular case, we've got to execute better. We're going to make some changes this week and change things up again, and then we're going to simplify things. And I think the focus in practice this week is to get better and not to disrespect Franklin Central or any of our future opponents. We've got to make things about us. We've got to continue to improve as a program at all levels. We've got to continue to develop our young bucks, and and that includes the middle school levels. We just got to keep improving, and I think if you do that, results will happen. It just like I'm terrible at golf. I don't particularly like to play. I don't have the very much patience at that game.
Oh, really?
No, right? So losing is not something I've never been 0-5 before at any level of my life, and has you reevaluate some things and talking to yourself. And I made the mistake of watching the Bengals this weekend, and typically don't do that, and they reminded me why I don't watch them with frustration. So I kind of feel a little snake bit right now because the teams that I root for haven't been doing very well. So that being said, I feel good about our kids right now. We're starting to get some guys back from injury, and we'll give Franklin Central all we have this Friday.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk with us. I know it's a busy time of the year.
Always. It's all good.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Barry.
Well, welcome. I'm Perry Williams, and this is the Hamilton County Coaches Show. Alongside me today is Jake Gilbert, the head football coach at Westfield. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, tough weekend. That's about all you could say about it. You went to Hamilton Southeastern. Southeastern came out victorious at 34-10. But from the beginning of the game, it was pretty normal Westfield football. You scored 10 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the game in that first half, and then the second half. That third quarter, Southeastern scored 17 points. So let's talk a little bit about the first half.
Well, a great start. We received the ball, went right down and scored. So offense was clicking. We had a big play on the drive, pass from Cam Simons and Mason Peening. They got the ball through an interception first play. Micah Hauser had 2 interceptions the week before, and he intercepted the ball and put us in on our side of the 50 right away. We managed to get 3 points out of that. So I don't know that it could have started much better.
No.
So a great first quarter for us. And I think, just out of arrogance, we kind of just let our guard down a little bit and thought, here we go again, because we've been successful in the prior weeks and gotten off to great starts on those. But, HSAA obviously didn't get that memo. And they were there to play a football game. They managed to get a score in before half. And we stopped us. We stopped ourselves a little bit too, and so it's 10-7, very competitive. But then second half was all HSE, So we certainly were 2 even football teams at worst in the first half. Maybe we did a little better, but then in the second half, they absolutely took over, and we didn't have a lot of answers.
Yeah, and the one thing about it is, and we talked about it, and I talked to several people about it. it was a showdown. Really, we thought it would be between two quarterbacks. Okay, excuse me, in Hobson and Cam Simons, and it ended up a sophomore running back from Hamilton Southeastern who had only in the first 4 games, and he had only played in one, came up with 232 yards. So it was kind of an interesting turn of events. But that's you have Micah Hauser, and that's happened to you in your career. That Hauser's come in and last year a couple times and had some big games, and still continues to do that. But it's no surprise to anybody anymore. So.
Well, you have to be prepared no matter what you see. Blaine Wirtz, he did an awesome job and had no clue who that kid was. He wasn't like in the 2 deep. We weren't prepared for him. We were prepared to defend the pass because they've been outstanding. They have great wide receivers, and they had thrown it a lot because the running game hadn't gone as well. But there was really no need for them to throw as much in our game because once they got the run game going, we didn't do a whole lot to change it, unfortunately. So, we made lots and lots of stops, but when they broke a play, they broke it for a long margin. So that's where we really messed up. We didn't give up, any more explosive plays than we have been, but these explosive plays weren't 15-yarders. They were 40, 50, and 60-yarders, and that's where he got a lot of his yards. So he ran very hard. I thought they blocked well. We didn't make enough plays, and he was fast enough to pull away from some of our young guys.
Yeah, well, it's behind us now, and you're 4-1 this week. You have another easy opponent in Brownsburg.
Right, yeah.
So it doesn't get any easier, does it?
Doesn't. No. Brownsburg's amazing. Great skill on the offensive side for sure. Quarterback, wide receiver, tailback are all Division I commits. Then, defensively they have a couple great linemen, a 3-year starting middle linebacker. They're really good. I felt like they would be, the best team in our conference coming into this year. So they have lost to Avon, but there's no shame in that either. So these guys are outstanding. They just beat a great Fishers team, 42-17. So we're going to have to suck it up, put on our big boy pants, and get back to work.
Yeah, but I think it's the one thing we learned here in the state of Indiana this weekend when 5 of our top 10 teams in 6A football lost. So, it kind of shows you that you got to play 4 quarters of top-notch football every second of the game. So
yes, because these teams were good and are well coached, and they work football throughout the year. So, you have no choice. A lot of times there's some great athletes, and if you just let off the accelerator just a little bit, they'll make you pay. And Brownsburg would be no different, for sure.
You and I talked about earlier the situation with last week when Brownsburg and Avon played each other, and Avon came out 10-7. That now we realize they both have very good defenses.
Right.
Okay, and then this week Avon comes out with a big win, and Brownsburg comes out with a big win, and Brownsburg scores 42 points instead of 7 against a good team in Fishers who had only given up 26 points in the first game. So it's just it's a tough area to be playing football. Yeah.
But this is the stage that you want to be on. Playing against the best, trying to prove you are the best. If you're going to be a top 10 team, then you need to play like a top 10 team. And so I'm flattered by the rankings that we have. And we've played like a top 10 team except for the second half the other night and when we got whipped by IHSAA. So we'll see what we're made of, and we'll either rebound and play our hardest or else we'll fold. I hope that's not the case. So we're ready to get back to work today.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about it, and especially we hear it all the time with the Indianapolis Colts, we want to go 1-0 this week, and that's definitely how this league plays too. You got another tough opponent here you have another maybe a little bit of a distraction by this week is homecoming. It's great for the community. I mean, I just drove through the town. All the windows are decorated, but football programs are in routines and certain things that they have to do every day, or certain things have to be accomplished, and it kind of takes you out of that. But there again, it is what it is, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's an honor. I mean, that's what we have to understand. I mean, 5,000 people come watch you play. You're playing a game, and 5,000 people come out and just kind of want to be a part of that and watch. And a great opportunity to do something so neat for the city and the school. But like we always tell our kids, but you just can't forget the most important thing is the game. And that's our job. Our job is to win the game. Everyone else can have a little more active role in powder puff and parades and pep rallies and all those things. Our job is to win the game. We're the only ones that get to play in the game. Everyone else can be involved in everything else. We have to focus on the game. But it's an honor that the school gets behind you and the city, and we get supported great here.
It's better than the other side. You've been on that side, I'm sure, in your career of where the fans aren't supportive,
right,
especially when you first start a program, and playing. So this is absolutely, you guys have a great atmosphere here, and it's always fun to come here. One thing about it, Hamilton County TV will be broadcasting that Westfield Brownsburg game, and we're very, very excited to do that.
It's going to be a good one.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule, and good luck this week.
Thank you. Go Rocks.
Thank you for joining us tonight in the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show on Hamilton County Television at www.hctv1.com. A lot of sports coming up this week on Hamilton County Television. Coming up Wednesday night, it will be volleyball. We'll be at the Mill as the Carmel Greyhounds come in to take on the Noblesville Millers. Coming up Friday night, our feature Hamilton County Television football game of the week will be Brownsburg at Westfield. Also got a great lineup on game day. The games we'll be featuring this week will be Avon at Fishers, Hamilton Southeastern at Zionsville, Chittard at Guerin Catholic, and Heritage Christian at Covenant Christian. On behalf of Jim Wofford and Perry Williams, I'm Brad Silbert. Good night.